My name is Jalen Mickey Rodriguez, and I am City Council member in San Antonio. Progress Texas, I think, is important because it centers the working class people of our state, and that's what this is all about.
It's Friday, May 30th, 2025, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. A bombshell immigration story lands this morning. The Texas Tribune, ProPublica, and a coalition of online media outlets and investigative news orgs in Venezuela have discovered that the Trump administration knew that the vast majority of the 238 Venezuelan immigrants it sent from Texas to a maximum security prison in El Salvador back in mid-March had not been convicted of crimes in the United States before the Trump administration labeled them as terrorists and deported them, according to recently uncovered U.S. Department of Homeland Security data. Coming here directly from the Trib, President Donald Trump and his aides have branded these Venezuelans as rapists, savages, monsters, and the worst of the worst. When multiple news organizations disputed those assertions with reporting that showed many of the deportees did not have criminal records, the administration doubled down. It said that its assessment of the deportees was based on a thorough vetting process that included looking at crimes committed both inside and outside the United States. But the government's own data shows that Trump administration officials knew that only 32 of those deportees had been convicted of any U.S. crime, and that most of those were nonviolent offenses, such as retail theft or traffic violations. Only 6 of those 238 immigrants had ever been convicted of violent crimes, 4 for assault, 1 for kidnapping, and 1 for a weapons offense. And it shows that officials were aware that more than half, or 130, of the deportees were not labeled as having any criminal convictions at all, outside of violating U.S. immigration law. These people are now living in a hellish backwater third world prison from which there is generally no release or escape, no legal representation, no outside contact. Our government has lied to our faces as it has disappeared these people into misery and death. And if they get away with it, they can do the same to any of us, including me, including you. A damned unbelievable read. And again, terrific work from the Texas Tribune, ProPublica, and their partners in Venezuela. See the show notes, and please do share. On that same note, yet another highly shameful set of images emerges from Texas for the whole world to see, this time little kids in zip-tie handcuffs. Dina Arevalo at mysanantonio.com says at least 3 migrant children, 2 boys and little girl between the ages of 9 and 12, are shown in a video captured by an attorney at the San Antonio Immigration Court last week with their hands restrained behind their backs with black plastic zip ties. And this is after an immigration judge had dismissed their case, at which point they should no longer have been subject to removal proceedings or detainment. Guillermo Hernandez III, a San Antonio-based immigration attorney, says this kind of treatment of little kids is not the norm. He says, quote, "We've never seen them detain family units, children like this. And I think it's part of this administration to round up as many immigrants as possible. We have not seen this before, and I think the point is to instill fear and kind of be cruel about this process," unquote. And I'd say that's become quite clear. This comes amidst reports of ramped-up ICE operations across San Antonio, including plainclothes officers lurking outside that immigration court looking to further harass migrants who have already dealt as instructed with their cases. Enough of this shit. Similar law enforcement overreach on abortion in Texas. While we're relieved to see Senate Bill 2880, which would have placed a variety of new restrictions on abortion medications in Texas, likely dead this session, some police agencies in Texas continue testing the fences. Josh Marcus at The Independent says officers with the Johnson County Sheriff's Office south of Fort Worth used a nationwide network of 83,000 license plate readers called Flock to track a Texas woman who had a self-managed abortion earlier this month, including the access of data from states where abortion is legal. Once discovered and confronted, Johnson County Sheriff Adam King insisted that the search had been done to ensure the woman's safety after her family reported concerns about her. As with immigration, it's more likely a test drive for a surveillance system Republicans would love to see leveraged against women across this state and beyond. Now that Elon Musk is apparently trying to escape the PR nightmare he's created for himself with his recent experiments in politics down at the newly created Company Town Starbase, voted into existence earlier this month by a local referendum, they're wasting no time making those optics even worse. And no, I'm not referring to yet another blown-up rocket a couple of days ago. Laura Kolodny at MSN writes that Kent Myers, the newly hired city administrator of Starbase, has warned local residents in a notice that they may soon lose the right to continue using property they own, quote, for its current use, unquote, as Starbase is considering a new zoning ordinance, including a new mixed-use district. There's a public hearing on this scheduled for June 23rd. That might be interesting. That clown show of a press conference that Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick held over his impending THC ban the other day, Dan's ban, as it were, is attracting international attention. Jeremiah Hassel at the Irish Star writes that Patrick has been labeled a hypocrite after pushing for the THC ban despite having accepted large campaign donations from the beer, wine, and liquor industries. Patrick's hysterics over the dangers of cannabis products are indeed interesting, considering that alcohol carries similar and worse risks, but not a peep on that from the GovLite, who took a $50,000 donation recently from the Beer Alliance of Texas Political Action Committee, just part of about $250,000 Patrick has accepted from beer, wine, and liquor interests over the years. Speaking of the upside down in which our dear Republican leaders appear to live, Charles Pierce at Esquire notices that in Texas, we're passing anti-vax laws with one hand while we're fighting a measles outbreak with the other. Pierce notes that America's founding fathers themselves were fascinated with the then emerging technology of vaccines, writing, quote, Ben Franklin had a son who died young of smallpox, and Franklin never got over his failure to inoculate him against the disease. And I think we can all agree that these guys were fairly sensitive about liberty and the free exercise or non-exercise of deeply held beliefs, unquote. And still more, this week we've already been over the hypocrisy of Republicans putting in long hours at the Capitol on Sunday, breaking the Christian Sabbath in order to post the 10 Commandments in classrooms in every corner of Texas. Cora Nias at KXAN TV in Austin says the ACLU, Americans United for Separation of Church and State, and the Freedom From Religion Foundation have announced plans to challenge Senate Bill 10 once Governor Abbott signs it into law, as he has pledged to do. Nias notes a letter of opposition signed by 166 faith leaders across Texas and delivered to the legislature earlier in the session. It reads in part, quote, the responsibility for religious education belongs to families, houses of worship, and other religious institutions, not the government. The government oversteps its authority when it dictates an official state-approved version of any religious text, unquote, and we concur. DFW and North Texas friends, please mark your calendars for Monday, June 9th. We're going to be celebrating our 15th anniversary in Dallas. Links to become a supporter and to secure your tickets are up now at progresstexas.org. Big shout out to our generous event sponsors, Howard Cleon, Charles Zeller, Pamela Pearson, Alex Andrade, Scott Elphinstone, the law offices of Domingo A. Garcia PC, Carol Taylor, Chuck Cruz, Amy Forehand, Eric Johnson and Dr. Mark Parker, John Mazzaro, the Honorable Gene Wu, David Reynolds, Jennifer Owen, and many, many more. Thanks to all y'all for the support. We really do appreciate it and look forward to hanging with y'all in Dallas on Monday, June 9th for 15 years of progress. Details and tickets now at progresstexas.org. Our mission at Progress Texas is to counter the conservative disinformation machine, but they far outmatch us in funding. Oil and tech billionaires and religious right-wing activist groups spend a lot of money keeping their audiences in the dark. If you've come to appreciate the light we shine on important political news in Texas on a daily, ongoing basis, please know that our regular, everyday listeners form a key component of our funding. If that's you, we could use your support as a monthly contributor, and no amount is too small. Go to progresstexas.org/donate. Thanks to Belinda Musgrave, Franziska Nicholson, and Lauren Blanton, all of whom are on the team. We appreciate all of y'all very much. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Friday, May 30th, 2025. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. Progress Texas is a nonprofit, rapid response media organization promoting progressive messages and actions. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great weekend. We'll see you again on Monday.